Hi guys, welcome back to Manifest with Armine. My name is Armine and I'm a law of attraction consultant. This week I am doing a live again like I did last week instead of posting a video because it was more fun. And so there you go. I'm just gonna kind of wait here until some people join. You guys can ask me any question you want at all. Um, totally open to anything, talking about anything regarding heroes. Totally open to talking about anything regarding law of attraction, Neville, Abraham, anything you guys want. I just did a podcast interview with Michelle Joy, and I'll be posting the information about how to watch it. Probably on my blog, I will post it. So if you guys are not yet subscribed to my blog, feel free to do that or check it out like in a few days. It's going to be airing on Saturday. And Michelle Joy is someone who is doing this great thing called Soulmate Saturday. She manifested her soulmate relationship as I did. Hi, Michael. Welcome. And so she is also interviewing other people who manifested their soulmate relationships. And she's calling it Soulmate Saturday. And I'm on this Saturday. I just wrapped up with her. So recent examples of success. I'm like, this is something that like I need to improve on, I know, and I just keep seeing myself as someone who needs to improve on this. I don't write down things that like I don't remember things that I manifested. Like I'm like I'm so happy in that moment and I see the synchronicities and things pop up super quick for me, but I don't write it down and I don't remember it. And I kind of like it that way for myself, but since I do teach other people, I should probably like write it down and remember it. Successes, I don't know, I manifested like a weekend trip to San Francisco. That was pretty cool. When that wasn't counted for, we just kind of went like a couple days in advance. I booked it. We could all make it. We went. It was fun. It's a cool manifestation. Let's see. Let's see if I can see what you guys are writing. I don't know how to pop it up. There we go. Rose says, I've been having some anxiety relating to my manifestation due to needing to know how things are going to unfold. What's the best tool for your subscribers? Okay, I was actually just talking to Michelle about this, and it's what I wanted to bring up, but I didn't because I was babbling. Thank you, for Rose, for bringing it up. So there's like one thing that I think is like for anybody already understanding the law of attraction and is, oh man, I didn't put my other mic on. I still have my headphones on. Okay, that's okay. So for anybody who is understanding the manifestation process and understands the law of attraction and is just wondering why things maybe haven't come up yet, like shown up yet physically, it's that is the thing. The needing to know how is what's, I don't want to say killing your manifestation, but like for now, it's that's what's kind of holding it in limbo. That's what's holding it as something that hasn't happened yet because you're wondering how it's going to happen. And I read an awesome quote, basic genius as Neville's quotes usually are. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but it said you're needing to know how is, well, basically when you have what you desire, like when you're in the state of already having it, you don't need to know how. So you can't be practicing the state of having it while wondering how. It's why, because when you do have it, you don't wonder how it's going to happen because it's already done. So Rose, that's what I really, really recommend you do. And I know it seems kind of like mystical in a way, or just, as you know, I say things like put reasoning aside, because it's not about what makes sense. It really isn't about what makes sense, because we can't figure things out logically nearly as perfectly as the universe will bring it to us. So it doesn't matter how much evidence is pointing, towards the fact that it's not there yet. All you're doing, the reason that you want to know how it's going to happen is because you're still recognizing that the problem is still there and the solution hasn't arrived yet. So stop needing to know how. And I know it's like a ridiculous answer, like, oh, how do I stop needing to know how? You just stop needing to know how. But that is the answer. Just if you're needing to know how, there's two ways to go about it. You can either by your will practice your way out of needing to know how by soothing yourself. and saying, it's okay, I don't need to know how. I don't need to know how. I know it's going to happen. I know it's happening. I don't need to know how. And you can inch your way towards it, or you can just do Neville's teaching, where you just embody the you who is already there. And once you practice that enough, and it's not that much, it's just allowing yourself to feel ridiculous for a little bit. And then at that point, you won't need to know how. You'll naturally stop asking yourself those questions. Hope that makes sense. Let me see. Michael has a question. Let's see. So when Neville says to assume, do you just know what you want and accept that it's done, surrender to the fact it's done, and move on in the feeling? Because I did that. The rational mind interfere. Yeah. So I just surrender to the fact it's done, like it's realization and feeling. Yeah, that's exactly what you do. So I was contemplating this a little bit. Thanks, Rose. Yeah, implement it. Like it's super. If you want, I have your email address. I'll just email you overview what I just said. Because now this is live, or you can just watch the video again. Actually, it'll be posted on the channel. So Michael, to answer your question, I was contemplating this before any of my calls today, and it was basically this. You don't. So hold on. Let me just read exactly how I asked the question. Okay, so there's this like big thing about like faith, right? Like, how do you have faith? How do you know how to trust it? How do you trust the universe? How do you have faith that God is already providing something for you? And the assumption is faith. So to have faith is to assume that it is done. So you, and maybe you've heard this before, you always have faith. You either have faith in having your desire, or you're having faith in the lack of your desire. Because you have no lack of faith. We have no lack of faith. If we're not trusting it's going to happen, what we call not trusting it's going to happen for us is actually that we have faith in the fact that we decide that it might not happen. But when Neville talks about assumption, law of assumption, and assuming something into being, that's actually having faith. That's trusting it. So just trust it and have faith. Sounds like this like mystical thing that you can't really grasp, but it's assuming. Assume that it's done. Assume that once you know what you want, then in that moment, just assume that it's done. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to like work on it hard or long. Like seriously, it doesn't matter if it's small, if it seems small to you, or if it's big, if it means not much to you, or if it means a lot to you. In that moment, as soon as you know what you want, instead of going to the old habit, which might have been, but I don't know if it'll work out, I don't know if it's possible, or I don't know how it's going to happen. I know it'll work probably, but I don't know how. So our reasoning mind wants that depend on. Just assume it's done. Assume that this is the new you. You have to take on that new I am. You have to become the new person. And it sounds complex, like, oh, I have to become a whole new person now. Yeah, just the same version of you as you are, except that this version of you already has that thing which you want. And it may seem challenging, but it actually should be really fun. Because if you're practicing the state of already having what you want, wouldn't that be really fun and appealing? Like think about it. It only seems challenging until you actually allow yourself to enjoy it. If you allow yourself to enjoy that moment of lingering in that great feeling of naturalness of already having what you want, then it's not really challenging. A little bit of perseverance is necessary because you're used to seeing it a different way. You're used to seeing that thing you want from the perspective of not having it. But it's just a matter of practice and a little bit of perseverance. And then Neville also says how many times, it says, you must forgive this man or whatever morning, noon, and night. So basically like the old you, the habit of the old you, it's okay. If you revert back to that, just forgive it, move on. Forgive yourself and move on. The new man. Remind yourself who you are now. You know, it's kind of like if you actually win the lottery, like think about it. The first like while, you actually remember sometimes that God, I won the lottery. It's like it's something that you weren't used to before, but you still kind of have to remind yourself like, whoa, I won the lottery. Like, even though you knew it and you were informed of it, you still kind of have to check it and be like, oh man, like it'll hit you again because you are not used to being the other person. And if you actually do this, if you win the lottery, then you will actually keep your money longer, and you won't be one of those people who reverts back to the poor version of themselves, because you just enter that new state of consciousness where it's normal to you, it's natural to you to have that much money. Let me see if you guys have been asking anything. Okay. So when Neville says, do you just know? Yeah. I don't know how to say this name. Sile Nkosi. Hi, Armine. I have been following. Let's see. It disappeared. There we go. I have been following Neville and Joel Goldsmith. Is it possible to follow the two practices at the same time, or are you familiar? I'm not familiar with Joel's work at all. Actually, I've heard his name a few times, but see, I focus on Neville and Abraham Hicks, and some people say that they're not the same. But obviously they're not the same because they're hearing it from two different teachers, but the teachings themselves are the same. And if you do thoroughly understand both, then you will know that they are the same. So I can't really speak for Joel's, but I'll look into it now because I haven't heard his name a few times. But just from the two teachings, take what feels good to you. And along the way, you'll see what's helping you more at that point, what you need more at that point. So you don't have to not listen to two teachers at one time. Just feel your way through them and see which one is helping you more in that moment. Okay? Let's see here. Trying to get my things back up. Okay, there we go. Jerome, hey, Hagen Harmony, what interesting things have you manifested in Bible teaching, and how consistent were you? Well, the first thing that I always talk about, it's kind of how I started coaching, is because I manifested my soulmate relationship. And it didn't take long because I was at a point in my life where I was just like letting go of something that was hugely not for me. So as soon as I did that, I really just jumped to what I had learned in The Secret and from Deepak Chopra and other similar teachers. I did not know Abraham's teachings yet, and I didn't specifically know much about Neville either. But I'll tell you what I did. I fell asleep in the affirmation of, I deserve your love, thank you for loving me. I deserve your love, thank you for loving me. And it's not an affirmation like, yeah, you just repeat. Affirmations are not just to be repeated. And if you do repeat it long enough, yes, your subconscious mind will pick up on it, yes, but what you want to do is really feel it, because when you desire something, what you really desire is the feeling that you think it'll bring you. So if you have an affirmation or something, if that's part of your routine or something that you like to practice, I suggest say it slowly and let each word sink in with the feeling that it gives you. If there's an affirmation that you've been given or that you make, but you don't feel anything really much with it, like it doesn't make you, if you're not moved by it, then don't use it, because the whole point of an affirmation is to really move you and to bring up those feelings of basically milking or just dwelling in that feeling of already having that which you desire. So that's what I did. It took a couple months, like maybe 3 months, until the person showed up in my life, and we've been together, I don't know, 10th year. We're in our 10th year. So it doesn't matter how amazing you think something is, and just because something's amazing and wonderful doesn't mean that it's harder to get. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It does exist. If you want it, it wants you too. So do both of you a favor, or do you and the money a favor, or do you and that career a favor, or do you and that health a favor, and allow it to show up for you by feeling the feeling of it. That's how you get acquainted with it, by feeling the feeling of it. Let's see what else you guys got here. Okay. Haha, Rose, very funny. I don't think anyone listens to me for hours. I could talk about this forever and then I would just tire you guys out. What are your thoughts of talking to friends? I want to bring this up because sometimes we feel the need to share with others, but often they will just reaffirm. Yeah, if you have even the impulse to talk to friends about it who are not going to, who don't have the same vision as you for yourself, then the reason you have that impulse is because something in you also doesn't believe it. So it's not that sharing with friends is bad. It's just that it's typically not recommended. And I don't do it either because once I share something, I kind of get deflated because like many of you, maybe most people who I have had around me to share with weren't going to see it done for me already. You know, they because they care for me, right? They would see the things of, oh, trying to protect you. Like, what if it doesn't work? Or how are you going to do that? You know? So that's why I would just first use your will to just not share with those people and at the same time work on feeling as though it's already done. Because once again, if you feel the impulse, the need to share with somebody who you know isn't really going to support you and see you as that version of yourself, then it's because that impulse is coming from the part of you that's not aligned with already having it. Let's see. Okay. Armine, I don't know how you say your name, and I see your name all the time, but Armine, 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 okay. If you could spell it out phonetically, that would be great, and then I don't have to ruin your name. Is there a time scale when manifesting? Does more imagination feed the intention more? Thank you. Thanks, Jerome, by the way. Okay, so I mean, yes, okay. There is a time frame or time scale. There is, but that's none of our business. The only time that's really necessary between you and what you want, between you and the version that you want to be living, to be experiencing, is your alignment. That's it. How natural does it feel to you to be that already? Be the person, the version of you who's already experiencing that. That is a main factor of how long something will take. Anything that's taken me long to manifest, and this was a question I think earlier up to, anything that's ever taken me a long time to create in my life, it's not because it took long for the universe to bring to me into my experience. No, it was because I had resistance for it. I had resistance and I just didn't have that brazen impudence to see myself as being that version of myself. So there's a time frame, but it's nothing compared to actually the actual alignment of it. That's what takes up most of the time. Jerome says there's a method I think I heard, I can't remember where I saw it, but it was a time-based manifestation. Yeah, so people do that. Well, actually, even Jack Canfield in his books, actually Napoleon Hill first, I'd say, is where I first learned that, or it was suggested to put a time on your manifestation, because when you put a time on it, it becomes more of a goal, it becomes more of like, instead of a dream, it becomes a goal and then a plan because you put a date on it. And if you can see yourself having it by a certain date, then it's stronger. And there is that, yes, if that works for you at this point in your life and in this specific manifestation, then do it or try it if you're interested, because that might be what you need. But I don't always focus on that because in my experience, more often than not, people tend to have more resistance when there is a date involved, because if the doubt is that high, like if the faith in it not working out is that high, if that makes sense to you, but that's what it is. Not trusting it is having trust that it won't work out. So if you're trusting that it's not going to work out for you to the point that you're not really closer to believing it's going to happen for you, then putting a time on it is only going to make you panic, and you're going to fake your way through exercises and techniques in order to make that deadline, which is impossible. It'll never work. You can't fake your way to it. You can practice your way into the feeling. You can become that person. You can clothe your desire with your consciousness, really, and it will manifest, even by a certain date, if you put that date in your mind, if you have that. But it takes a level of maybe experience, or just that's the way naturally things work for you. Maybe if you're used to that, if you're good with deadlines, I'd say, then definitely go for that. But if you're someone who feels more pressured and flustered when there's deadlines around you, then I wouldn't recommend that, because it would just like make the resistance go even higher. Let's see if there's anything else. Yeah. Thank you. Can I whistle? Not really. I'm not really good at whistling. Okay, let's see. Neville says that when we have a grip on the seed, it will never be planted, and to loosen the grip. Yeah, speaking of resistance, that's Neville's description of the grip. Yeah, it's like a baby chick. You can't hold a baby chick by holding it tight, because you think, oh, it's a gentle creature, so you want to hold it tight and protect it. But if you hold it tight, you'll crush it. So you have to just hold it loosely. The more something is important to you, hold it loosely. There has to be a lightness about it. Like Bashar says, you're actually molding the energy. And like Neville says, the potter, right? The potter's house. You are the potter, and you're molding, or the imagination is the potter, whatever. And you're actually creating that piece through what you're imagining. So you can't just, sorry, 1 second. You can't just be like tight about it. You can't put pressure on it. You can't hold the seed so tight that it won't even grow. And I know in 2nd grade I had a, or was it 3rd grade? It was 3rd grade. I had a I did a science experiment where I took 3 paper plates and I planted three of the same seed in each of the paper plate with soil. And my experiment was that one of them I was going to water once a day, one once every 2 days, and one once every 3 days, or something like that. And but the thing is, I packed the soil so tightly that they barely grew at all. It was very difficult for the seed to sprout in there, because, you know, I was like a little kid and I was like all aggressive about it. I was excited, and I packed the soil so tightly that the seed really didn't have that freedom to grow. So yes, Rose, definitely, like, loosen the grip, like let go of the grip. The seed is not going to grow in a clenched fist. Let's see. Cool. Miracle of Mind Dynamics. Nice. This is all we have. Okay. Let's see. Manoj plan says it's done. Yes, it's done. So say you were as adept as Neville, putting a time on it would be fine. Essentially, it's not even as being adept as, it's not about being an expert really. It's just about what works for you. Like me, however experienced I am with manifesting, it doesn't matter. And we all have our moments where, you know, we have more resistance or less. But I'm not really a time frame person. But some people are a time frame person, even if they don't have much experience at all manifesting. Then that would maybe work for them. Like Neville says, if you do want something by Sunday, then imagine that it's Sunday and you have it, because Sunday feels different. There's different sounds in the air. There's the church bells. There's just that feeling of Sunday, and you know that feeling. Let's see. So you would need a strong relationship with your subconscious. Okay, subconscious, kind of like when you're experienced riding bike. It's just a matter of practice, yeah. Just the only thing to stop the wobbling or going back and forth is to get back on the bike and keep trying, keep practicing. Cynthia Castro, I don't know if I said that right, but I apply the LOA often and it has always worked, but unfortunately this time it doesn't seem to work. Do you know why? I have positive thoughts and I'm trying to live as if. Okay, well, just from what you said, I think the problem here is that you're trying to live as if and you're not actually living as if. And I know that it can feel the same sometimes until you actually hit the feeling of living as it, living as it. And then you'll know, okay, because it's such a mildly different feeling until it is really natural to you, then you feel like, oh yeah, this is totally different than when I was trying. Don't try. Just do it. Jump into it. Be like have that brazen impudence, and don't worry about it. Don't think about, if it's going to happen or not, if it's worth it or not. Just do it. You are in Barbados and you went first class. That's the key. The moment we start living from our desires manifested in our consciousness, it is done, it will manifest. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, Rose, I don't know. I never even thought of that connection until right now, but thanks to you because you mentioned the seed. But yeah, so there you go. I hope I answered all the questions. If I didn't answer one of your questions, anybody, just ask it again, please. I'm on my phone and I have to like scroll a million times. Let me see. I love how you said forgive the old man instead of fighting the old man. Yeah, always forgive. Again, I forgot exactly what the words were of Neville's quote, but he said, you must forgive this limited being morning, noon, and night. The limited being is our logical mind, is our reasoning mind. It's our human selves. So you must forgive yourself, that part of yourself, morning, noon, and night. Just never be hard on yourself. Have that non-critical self-observation, because and a lot of you have heard this already. When you think of a friend who has a problem or is talking to you about something, we're so much more understanding and soothing towards the friend than we would be to ourselves, because we've been taught that to be responsible, we need to be kind of hard on ourselves, we need to kind of whip ourselves into shape, and that doesn't really help with the natural laws and the way things are actually happening for us. Just forgive yourself. It's not even about being worthy. It's completely not productive towards anything you want to be hard on yourself, or to just give up and say, well, I couldn't do it, or I didn't have faith, or I reverted back to the old man. So what? It's like, that's not so different from saying, oh, well, this is an extreme time sense of it, but to say, oh, I'm not going to go, I'm 40 years old, I'm not going to go to college now because by the time I come out, I'll be 44 or whatever. It's like, but the time's going to pass anyway. So, and manifesting doesn't take that long, by the way. But for example, it's like the time's going to pass anyway. So just instead of being hard on yourself because you didn't feel it real for just a day or a week or a month, so what? That's all done. Every moment is new. Every moment is a new opportunity. That's what you guys are saying. Aha. Jake says, I forgive, then the next day I am back to anger with the same situation. Oh, that's okay, because that's just part of the process. You forgive yourself and then you're angry, but just think of it this way, what feels better? To feel at peace or to feel angry? Right? Feeling at peace is your natural, that flows naturally through you. The anger is what's stifling it. So it's just be selfish enough to let yourself feel more at peace in a moment than anger. And you're not going to be able to, most likely you're not going to be able to switch from complete anger to complete peace with something and to feel good about something even. But it's okay, because it just happens little by little, little by little. It's okay if it's 2 steps forwards, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Even if it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back, it doesn't matter. You just get back on it, continue. Because you know that as soon as you make that the default feeling, like as soon as you feel a little more good about something than anger about something, then things are totally going to show up for you. And as soon as they do, even if it looks like someone else is getting that thing, or if it looks like it's almost happening but it missed, that is progress, because it's showing you that it's trying to show up in your reality. So thank you so much for your play, but I feel amazing when I acted as if, and I know that I did it right, but the problem is that I did it for so many days and the manifestation didn't come true. But I know what you mean, because I've been there too, and I know people who have been there, but if you actually did it, then you wouldn't have been counting the days. And if you were doing it right now, you wouldn't be counting the days. Like Reverend Ike has a story about how I think he went to Florida or somewhere, and he saw somebody on the street who said, hey, I saw you preaching, and I did exactly what you said, but look at me. I don't even have a home. I'm living in my car. And Reverend Ike was like, well, are you doing it now? Because what you're telling me is a reflection that you're not doing it. You just do it. You do it until it's done. It doesn't matter how long it takes. Rose says, when I was first applying Neville's teachings 4 or 5 years ago, I found it easier to have blind faith. Nowadays, the more I know about consciousness and the mechanics, it's not necessarily harder, but there's more resistance to it. It's okay. It's just a process. And then just persevere. And you're going to have days where you're on it, days where you're not on it. It doesn't matter overall, as long as you're choosing a little bit more often, at least, to trust in what you do want over what you don't want. Yeah. Like water when surrounded with the correct energies, words, so on. Exactly. Exactly. You change the structure of it. You're welcome. All right, guys, I got to get going, but I like this so much better than making videos because I zone out when I make videos. And I love interacting with you guys. So I'm going to try to do these every Wednesday. If I am going to choose one to do on a different day of the week, I think it'll notify you. So make sure you're subscribed, please, and press the bell notification button on the subscribe button so that you do get notified when I start a live. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I will see you guys next week. Bye.